I am so glad to have you here with me. Of course, you and I know how we've known of each other for a while because, of course, we do very similar things.
Mhm.
And then we got to meet, and then things have flowed, and now I've managed to steal you for my podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. And you'll tell us more about yourself and the family business partnership. What do people need to know about you?
So if we go back in time, if we rewind many, many years into the past,
Yep.
I was a financial planner. I was working in organizations that tended to focus, not deliberately in my case, but tended to focus on working with family-owned businesses,
Mm,
just by the nature of the fact that they are so common in as an ownership structure. And I was working from a financial planning perspective on things like retirement planning, which, as you all know from your experience with family businesses, there's not really that concept of retirement in the
no,
same way as
no.
there is in kind of the world outside of family businesses.
Yes.
And what I started to find is that you could highlight and show people very, very clearly there is no reason why you shouldn't be able to retire and enjoy the fruits of your labor and go and have a
Mm,
hugely fulfilling and rewarding retirement.
mm,
But people kept not doing that.
yeah,
They
yeah.
carried on working
Mm,
and they were like, well, I don't know what to do beyond the role I
mm,
have with my
mm,
business. And I
yeah.
became more and more interested in why we're kind of told as financial planners, your job is to go and
Mm,
help people become financially independent and then they can retire and
mm,
enjoy the fruits of their labor. Why there was this group
yeah,
of individuals who
yeah.
tended to get a bit more stuck at that point. So
Mm,
I became very interested in doing a bit more of a deep dive on why family business owners and people who worked
mm,
in family businesses, or more specifically their family businesses, were
mm,
reluctant to effectively pass the baton.
yeah.
So I embarked on a project that was intended to lead to a book, which I kind of wrote and it's sat on my laptop gathering dust, and
Mm,
it's not going to go anywhere. There's a
okay.
we'll talk about another idea for a book later on, perhaps. But
Yeah.
I found through those conversations somebody who was a family business practitioner,
Yep.
and I hadn't appreciated that that role existed until I came
Mm,
across it. They
mm,
said, "We think your skill set suits this
mm,
work.
mm,
Why don't you come and have a little bit of an exploration around it?" So I became again really curious about that.
yeah.
And the interviews that I conducted to create the book, people were giving me a
Mm,
feedback that I was
mm,
good at listening, I was good at kind of
yeah.
creating a space for the answers to happen. And had
Mm,
I considered doing that as a podcast? And I hadn't. But then I thought, okay, well, it was still relatively new, that the whole
mm,
podcasting thing. We're talking probably 10 years ago now.
yeah.
And so
Wow.
I went on the journey of going, okay, I'm going to publish a podcast,
Yeah.
imagine, put my teeth in,
Mm,
imaginatively titled The Family Business Podcast.
of course. Of course.
Um,
Best name.
and yeah, exactly. Got in there early. And that led to me being exposed to this whole new world of
Yeah.
family business advice. I
Mm,
put myself through, there's an organization in the States called the Family Firm Institute, put myself through their advanced certificate in family business advising,
mm,
worked under the mentorship and guidance of some other family business
mm,
advisors who kind of took me under their wing and showed me
yeah.
the ropes on, with the
Yeah.
first time you're in that situation with a family where you're not talking about pensions and investments,
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
be a daunting experience. So having that support and guidance was
Mm,
exceptionally valuable and
mm,
helpful to me.
mm,
And then when was it? Just prior to the pandemic arriving, I took
mm.
the decision that actually I don't want to be a regulated financial planner anymore. I want to
Yeah.
step out and do this work under my own steam within
Mm,
my business, which is the family business partnership.
yeah.
So I launched a face-to-face consultancy business in
Okay.
full lockdown on the
Mm.
1st of April, so April Fool's Day as well, which
Oh,
I should have
okay.
known. But
Cool.
when I did it, I didn't know that we were going to be going into that
Okay.
situation. So it wasn't deliberate, and I
Yeah,
didn't have a
of
global
course.
pandemic in my business plan.
No, no,
Which
no.
in hindsight, you look back and go, well, you should have clearly because these things
Okay.
happen. But at the
Yeah.
time, just didn't think of it. And that gave
Mm.
birth to the Family Business Partnership.
Yeah.
And that's just what, six years ago, it came into inception. And then obviously April, it became a real thing.
Mm,
And yeah, so since then I've been supporting families
mm,
with governance, with decision making, with transition planning. I do some
mm.
coaching as well with a rising generation,
Okay.
and various other projects that, again, I'm
Mm,
sure we can dive into. But that's kind
yeah.
of how I came to be doing what I'm doing today.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's always fascinating how people get into this because I mean your story is very different to mine, yet we do very similar things.
Mm,
And I guess you spotted something. I guess you spot the pain points that family businesses tend to have, which other businesses perhaps don't have.
hmm
There's a definite lean. Um, some people who I come across will say to me, why do I work with family businesses and not businesses? Particularly
hmm
that our skills are transferable to other businesses.
Yeah.
I always say that family businesses are unique, not the same as other businesses, even though there's a lot of overlap. What do you say? And do you get similar questions to this that I get?
Yeah, so I get asked by other businesses, can you come and do what you do, but
Hmm.
with us? We're not a family business, but we're close. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, there is a distinct difference between a
Mm.
family in business together
Yeah.
and colleagues who are close.
Yes.
And doesn't mean that there aren't the same challenges in terms
Mm.
of sort of different
Mm.
opinions, but you can go home and speak to your
Mm.
partner or your parents
Yeah.
at the end of the day and go, my boss is horrible, without that
Mm.
being the
Yeah.
person that you're
Yeah.
speaking to.
Yeah.
And in terms of why, one of the, again, if I use the kind of experience I had as a financial
Mm.
planner,
Mm.
that can be a very technical space to be in. Different tax wrappers,
Mm.
different
Right.
kind of suggestions and recommendations for how to best achieve your goals.
Yeah.
But the approach I used to take with the individuals and families that I worked with is, what do you want this money to be able
Mm.
to enable you to do?
Mm. Mm.
How can we utilize the financial resource to support you having a fulfilled life?
Mm.
Because I'm a very strong advocate of, we are here once. This isn't a rehearsal. We don't
Yeah.
get to come back next time and go, I wish I'd done this.
Mm.
So we get one
Mm.
shot at it. And generally speaking, might be a bit kind of preachy, but most people don't realize that until it's too
Yeah.
late.
Yeah.
And so I had that ethos within my financial
Mm.
planning work.
Mm.
And the idea that a family business and being in business with your family gives you
Mm.
control and the
Mm.
ability to
Mm.
shape how you want your business to be,
Mm.
for you all to
Mm.
live fulfilling and rewarding lives, which is an
Yeah.
incredible
Mm.
situation to be in. You
Yeah.
are not controlled by
Yeah.
shareholders who are just demanding more and more return
Mm.
on their investment. You
Mm.
are a family system who have decided
Mm.
to
Mm.
own or run a business together, which is
Mm.
incredibly positive.
Yeah.
But alongside that, as you know, come the
Mm.
challenges of, what
Mm.
hat am I wearing when I have this
Mm.
conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Am I talking to you as a parent? Am I talking
Mm.
to you as a child? Am I talking to you as a sibling? Am I talking to you
Yeah.
as your boss, as your
Yeah.
colleague, as your co-owner? All of
Yes.
those sort of conflicting and
Mm.
enmeshed roles
Mm.
make it a little bit harder to be a business with your family
Yeah.
than not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the
Yes.
combination of that, the kind of fascination I had around systems and behavior and
Mm.
why people make decisions that they
Mm.
make, so the behavioral side of things,
Mm.
and the power and
Mm.
beauty that can exist within a family business drew me
Yeah.
towards it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it's the world I felt most at home in.
Mm.
It's the world I
Mm.
felt most able to be myself and be comfortable
Mm.
in.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think that says something about family firms as well, as their
Yeah.
outlook, their
Yeah.
perspective, the
Yeah.
openness. Once you get to a point where they're
Yeah.
comfortable sat in front of a stranger telling all
Mm.
about the time their toys got stolen when they were 8 years old and they've never forgiven
Mm.
their brother or sister for doing that. Once you get past that
Mm.
barrier and you're kind
Yeah.
of in that family side of things,
Yeah.
the work is so rewarding, and it
Yeah.
more so than non-family businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, agreed. I think you say it really well because I think you sum up something that I feel really passionately about too. Because I feel like the work for us as consultants or advisors or whatever we want to call ourselves is like it is scientific, and artistic, it's
Hmm.
creative, it's technical, but also so human and relational. Like I'm yet to find something that I think is as broad as what we do, even though everybody
Hmm.
says we do very niche work, which like different story.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
um,
niche within a set of businesses that make up like 78% of
I
the
know, I
businesses. So
know,
yeah, it's
yeah,
niche, but it's like massive as well.
yeah.
And I think what's really interesting is the nuance and the fact that
Mm,
for me anyway, part of my belief is there's no one way to do something.
mm,
So there are
mm,
concepts and there are
mm,
avenues that you can explore with families, but each
mm,
family needs to be in control of what the outcome of that is, rather than saying, here's
mm.
one way to run a family
Yeah,
business, because
yeah.
the nuance of family dynamics, of the relational
Mm,
side of things,
mm, yeah.
even the nature of the business,
Mm,
one solution might work
yeah,
for, say, the Smith family, but wouldn't work for the
yeah,
Jones family. And
yeah.
and I think that again makes our work so much more interesting than,
Mm,
generally speaking, financial planning. The ambitions were different, so
mm.
you'd have that, but the products,
Okay.
the solutions that you could
Yeah,
provide were pensions, investments, ISAs, all
yeah,
exciting stuff, obviously, but not as
yeah.
exciting as working with a family to create their own
Right.
governance and decision-making structures, which is
Okay.
a lot
Yeah,
more fun, in my opinion. Not
sure.
dissing financial advice. It's
No,
great and very much needed, but
totally.
I'm very
Yeah,
happy I found family business advising.
yeah, yeah. I hear that. And tell me more about the ethos and also about, because I know we speak about how it is all very unique, incredibly bespoke, our work, but then there are also frameworks and structures that do come about.
Hmm.
So tell me about your work in this sense.
Yeah, so a lot of my work has been informed, most recently, I'll say most recently, so again, in the last decade or so, from the teachings and underlying lessons within mindfulness. And I'm not saying it from a
Hmm.
perspective that I'm expecting everyone in the audience to adopt the lotus
Okay.
position and hum, and then they become
Sure.
mindful. But
Mm.
underlying the teachings within mindfulness are three
Mm.
core elements.
Okay.
They effectively boil down to mindset,
Hmm.
behavior, and
Right.
knowledge.
Okay.
And I think those are the things that families have at their disposal to be able
Mm.
to create an organization, a business
Mm.
that
Mm.
enables everyone within that to thrive.
Right.
So back to that ethos of we are here once.
Mm. Mm.
Whether that means everybody in the family has to work in the family business or wants to work in
Okay.
the family business or not. I'm
Not.
kind
Right.
of agnostic on that in terms
Okay.
of I've worked with people who their passion is not the same widget
Mm.
manufacturing company that their parents
Yeah.
founded.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that it's
Mm.
kind of cut off and you
Mm.
go, well, you're either in or you're an outcast.
Yeah.
It's much more about understanding
Mm.
everybody,
Mm.
I think, would want their family to have a fulfilled
Mm.
and happy life.
Sure. Sure.
Where is that best placed? Is it
Mm.
as an owner? Is it as somebody who works in the business? Or is it as somebody who has nothing to do with the business and operations,
Mm.
but is a family member and is loved as a result? And
Mm.
from that, and from my kind of underlying informed from mindfulness,
Mm-hmm.
I've created my own framework. So I've been doing this for, as I
Mm.
say, about 10, 15 years in total.
Mm.
And within that, you see that there isn't necessarily a best practice on this is how you must do this
Right.
that is uniform for everybody, but there
Mm.
are a set of principles that I
Mm.
believe will help support families in exploring certain topics.
Mm. Mm.
So I've created a framework that is called the 10 Principles Framework. It's
10
grounded
principles.
in flourishing.
Uh-huh.
And so part of that is helping families to understand what
Mm.
does flourishing, what does a fulfilled life look like for you on an
Mm.
individual and collective basis.
Mm.
And then using these 10 principles as the lens to
Mm.
explore certain discussions around that help them
Right.
come to a perspective on how they
Mm.
want to run and operate their business.
Right.
The, the difference I find with it as being a lens
Uh-huh.
is that you're sat on the same side of the table
Yep.
trying to solve the same challenge rather than sat opposite each other going, well, this is why I'm in business and you need to be in business for the
Yeah.
same reason I'm in business. And it
Yeah.
just creates that.
Mm,
collaborative way to approach these
mm,
conversations. And rather
mm.
than bore the audience with all 10, if I just give you an example of
Yeah.
one or two. So the first one is empowered ownership. So again, my personal view is that ownership of a business is a separate role, distinct from working in the
Mm,
business.
mm,
What can
mm,
often happen in a family business is that the two
mm.
just become enmeshed,
Right, right.
particularly if you think about it from a founder's perspective.
Right.
So if a founder sets up a business, you and I have done that. I don't think
Mm,
either of us have done it to be able to have
mm.
100 shares in a limited company or in an
Sure,
XYZ, or
sure.
that's just a byproduct of us
Mm,
following our passion and following our dreams.
mm,
As and when that becomes successful and tangible, and there's then something to pass down,
mm.
conversations around ownership, in my
Yeah.
experience, are often neglected because it's not
Mm,
something that's in the conscious
mm.
of somebody who's founded a business.
Right. Yes.
Much more about the passion and the kind of the work, the
Mm,
involvement, that side of it. So
mm.
ownership has its own role. And then what does
Mm.
empowered ownership mean to you as a
Right.
family? What does
Right.
it allow you to do? It allows
Mm,
you to shape a business that can have a
mm,
hugely positive impact on the
mm.
world.
Yeah. Right.
It
Okay.
also can be destructive. So there's
Mm,
that balance to
mm,
meet on that. But by
mm.
looking at it through the lens of what does empowered ownership mean to
Mm,
you,
mm.
you're getting people to share their viewpoints and then come to a
Right.
consensus on what it means to us as a family. You can then
Yeah.
start to document that, and that's when your governance documents
Sure.
like charters and constitutions can
Yeah.
filter from.
They can.
So from that perspective, it's a
Mm,
useful lens for families to
mm.
use.
Yeah.
What one other example I'll just share now, and then I'll
Please.
shut up a minute,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
effective decision making.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm,
having the right decisions made by the right people at the right place in the right time.
yeah.
It sounds very straightforward, but again, when you've got that enmeshment
Yeah.
of roles and responsibilities, and
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
making this decision as an owner? Am I making it as a
Yeah.
board member? Am I making it as a
Yeah.
family member?
Yeah.
Creating those boundaries is a
Mm,
really important step in what I term as the
mm,
formalization of a family business.
mm.
Kind of industry term is professionalization, which
Yeah.
I don't particularly like because it suggests
Okay.
a lack of professionalism before, which I don't
Okay.
think is fair. It's
Fair.
more that it's formalizing and capturing
Mm,
what
mm,
works well so that
mm.
families can then make decisions together that
Yes.
are the right people at the right place
Yes.
and at the right time.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of examples of where the principles are very
Great.
practical. It's not
Great.
anything kind of reinventing the wheel or kind
Sure.
of rocket science, but it's
Sure.
just simple
Sure.
framework and lenses for people to look through when they're approaching particular topics.
Yeah, no. But I think it's ace. And I mean, part of me, I do want to sit here and go through the rest of the eight. Like, tell me the others. But I think even effective decision making, this the that one pillar offers a great example how family businesses are different to businesses. Because I think decision making is a great way that it is more murky and a little bit more complicated when you've got that extra circle of family in there.
Mhm.
Um, Fab. I think this is
Yeah.
great.
Can I make a shameless plug for my own podcast just very quickly? I
You will.
recorded an
Yeah.
interview
Yeah.
last week. As we record this, it's not live, but it'll be going live
Okay.
on 12th of December. So it may be
Okay.
after this has,
Yeah, it will
before
be.
this has gone live.
Yes.
Um, but it's with a guy called Jay Hughes, who is one of the wisest and most thoughtful people I've ever come
Mm,
across in the world of
mm,
family business.
yeah.
And he said something on this podcast which just
Mm,
resonated hugely with me, is
mm,
you don't become a family business until, as a family, you start to make decisions together.
yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm.
before that point, if a founder is just
Mm,
controlling and taking all
yeah.
the decisions,
Mm,
is it really a family business? It's
mm,
still the
mm.
founding
Right.
individual's business that
Yeah.
family are working within.
Yeah.
But to truly become a family business,
Yeah.
the family
Mm,
making decisions together is kind of this.
mm.
And it really resonated in terms of
Yeah.
that transition in particular
Yeah.
from somebody who probably has all the ownership and all the
Mm,
control
mm,
to be
mm,
able to review and understand the habits that they've
mm,
created that have been hugely successful.
mm.
It's not to say that's been wrong, it's been hugely successful,
Sure.
but it now needs to be different to
Mm,
allow the
mm.
rising generation to step in and make decisions,
Yeah.
to potentially allow non-family members to make
Mm,
decisions and how that impacts trust and the
mm,
perception of what the business is. Again,
mm,
it highlights the complexity that comes
mm.
with
Yeah,
business and particularly family business,
yeah,
that it's our role is to help families to
yeah,
navigate that.
yeah,
So it just highlighted to me the kind of nuance and
yeah.
the transition that people have to go through
Mm,
when we're
mm,
dealing with changes in role
mm.
and ownership in particular.
Yeah, yeah. Sounds fab. I really appreciate Jay Hughes. So this podcast was made live. Let's pretend that's in the past.
Yes.
December 12th. I'm going to put a link down below that people could go
Fantastic.
check out
Yeah.
your podcast.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a good one. I think as the host, it's hard sometimes to say that's a really good podcast without it sounds as if it's about my ego. But
yeah.
I did the
Um,
least amount of speaking. There's myself and a
mm,
colleague called Martin Stepek, who's the guy who introduced me to mindfulness, and we
mm,
just have a really meaningful conversation that covers poetry, that
mm,
covers literature, that
mm.
covers ancient
Okay,
language and anthropology, and there's all these kind
great.
of different elements in, and I'm really pleased with it. So yeah,
Yeah,
please go and check it out. If I'll get nothing from it other than a
yes.
warm fuzzy feeling, so happy
No,
to plug that.
perfect. Perfect. Yes. The conversation between yourself, Jay, and Martin.
Yeah, as a
Okay.
dual hosted by me and
Okay.
Martin, just
Perfect.
because the kind of um, shared ethos around thriving, and particularly
Mm,
around Martin's
mm,
kind of helped me
mm.
from a personal perspective by utilizing mindfulness.
Right.
We've also created a program.
Mm,
It's an 8 module program that teaches all of the elements that underlie
mhm.
mindfulness as well.
Okay.
So that kind of resonated with Jay's
Nice.
viewpoint, so that
Okay.
we did a uh,
Yeah.
dual hosted, I think is the correct
Okay.
term, but a lot of
Perfect.
fun.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen your mindfulness, the eight program. Is it on your website?
Yeah, so familybusinesspartnership.com forward
Mm.
slash the path. It's called The
Uh-huh.
Path,
Uh-huh.
as the name might
Yeah.
suggest.
Yeah.
And what we've done is created, so it's video based. You watch the videos, it's got some reflective exercises underneath,
Mm,
8 modules, which if you
mm,
buy the self-guided version, it's, as the name
mm.
suggests, self-guided. So you just take it through at your own pace. We do
Mm.
suggest a module a week so that it has time to actually
Okay. Yeah.
resonate and embed. Or
Mm,
we offer guided cohorts as well. So
mm,
people go through it as a group,
mm,
and we have group sessions on
mm.
currently on a Friday afternoon UK time,
Okay.
and we talk about what the lesson has taught us,
Mm.
how we've applied
Yes.
it to our own lives,
Okay.
how we haven't applied things, so moments where we haven't been mindful,
Mm, mm.
which often provides a bit more insight than those that you are mindful in.
Right.
Um, but yeah, really rewarding and very
Mm,
accessible
mm.
program to understand. And again, it's secular. We're not trying to convert anybody to Buddhism. We're just taking the
Sure.
teachings within it and going, this is how you can
Yeah.
apply that ancient wisdom
To
to
this.
modern life.
Yeah. Okay.
And particularly in a time where,
Mm,
very aware of mental health and the rising
mm,
sort of issues around mental health, mindfulness, I think is a
mm,
fantastic tool
mm,
to
mm.
have in our toolkit to be able
Okay.
to help us process what life throws at us.
Perfect. Perfect. Sounds fabulous. I was aware of the path.
Yeah.
Is it for all kinds of folks? It's not only for family businesses?
So it sits on the Family Business Partnership site, and it was put together
Okay.
by us, but the teachings within it are
Mm,
universal. It can be applied
mm. Okay.
anywhere.
Okay.
There may be a couple of mentions throughout around family business, just again because that's our
Yeah.
kind of background. But
Yeah.
if
Mm,
you're a non-family business
mm,
and you're interested in doing
mm,
it, then you'll get a
mm.
lot out of it.
People are
You
welcome.
don't have to. There's not a box you have to tick to say you're part of a
Okay.
family business to take it.
Sure.
So it's open to anyone.
Sure. Okay. Great to know. I'm going to link that down below as well for people
Brilliant.
just to check out.
Thank you.
Not at all. I am aware of the time, so maybe like a last question from me is I wonder what kind of message would you give to people who are listening that might be at any stage with their business? Maybe they're just setting up, or they have a business that's established and they're bringing family in, or it's a kind of a legacy business with multiple generations. Like, as a family business advisor and just from Russ, what message would you give to them?
I think at any stage, it's remaining true to the purpose of why the business exists. So if you're a founder,
Mm,
I'm in this boat. So I set up a business because I wanted to be able to
mm,
deliver useful, helpful guidance and
mm,
support to families who are
yeah,
challenged by the complexity of being in business with their family. So
yeah,
that's my purpose. And
mm,
I constantly check that my business is aligned to that
yeah,
purpose.
mm,
And
mm,
as an individual, that means I set up a business as well to have control
mm,
over my own time.
mm.
So again, checking in against that,
Check it in.
is
Yeah.
that still happening? Do
Mm,
I find myself working Saturdays and Sundays instead of spending time with
yeah.
my family? Is that why my business was created? Probably
Mm,
not. So just kind of sense
mm,
check there.
yeah.
And then as the business kind of grows and expands,
Mm,
again, checking in with that purpose and having a
mm,
shared vision around that. I think one of the most powerful things that a family can do together is
mm,
to sit down and to agree
yeah.
what is the shared vision for this business?
Mm, mm,
Where do we want this to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time? And what
yeah.
role do we want to be playing in that? What role do we want the
Yeah.
business playing in our lives?
Yeah. Yeah.
And having that sense of clarity around that,
Mm,
understanding, and again, without getting too much into the weeds of it, but
mhm,
things like values. Values are really important to be able to articulate.
mhm.
This is why we're in business, and one of our
Yeah.
values is X.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
pick one from the list.
Yeah.
But for families to actually go and do the work on what
Mm,
behaviors does that mean we expect of each other?
yeah. Yeah.
Most of the challenges I see with family businesses come from mismatched expectation.
Yeah. Right.
Someone feeling we should be doing
Mm,
this and we're doing this.
yeah.
And when you start to find an environment that you can share
Mm,
openly and
mm,
speak about, when you
mm,
did this, it didn't
mm,
match up to my expectation of
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It starts to pave the way for a constructive way forward rather than it festering
Yeah.
and lying under the surface. So I
Yeah.
think being really clear on purpose, on vision,
Mm,
on the values you want to have
mm,
displayed as behaviors within the
mm,
business, it helps to
yeah.
create a hugely powerful culture within the business
Yeah.
itself. And there's no, to
Yeah.
my mind, there's no negative outcome on being really clear on what your vision, values,
Mm,
and purpose
mm,
are,
yeah.
because it becomes a lens through which you make every
Yeah.
decision. And I think that's true across all
Yeah.
stages of
Yeah.
business. So I think that would be
Mm,
my kind of words
mm.
of wisdom,
Words of
if I can
wisdom.
say such things,
Yeah.
in terms of the advice to those
Yeah.
families.
Okay. Ace. I am glad to hear it because I think it's very much the kind of message that I send out as well. Like vision and values, the purpose, things being aligned. And I
Hmm.
guess underneath that sits communication and being able to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And I always signpost my clients to have conversations like that with all
Hmm.
people and all types of professionals. Maybe that's somebody like you and I who are right there in the sweet spot of family business life, or
Hmm.
somebody else, another professional. Just have
Yeah.
the conversations, vision and values preferably, but about anything.
Hmm. I
Like,
think as well there can be. So one of the common things I hear with families as well is, "Oh, you've never worked with a family like mine,"
yeah,
and that's probably true because
probably
every
valid.
family is individual, but
Mm,
the challenges that you're facing are very common.
yeah,
How do you successfully pass something from one
yeah,
generation to another? When do you
yeah,
start that process?
yeah.
That's the same whether you're the
Mm,
Smiths or the Jones that we mentioned earlier. And
yeah.
I think sometimes the value and benefit of external advice
Mm,
is, and there's a saying I use with the families I work with, is you can't read the label of the jar that you're in.
mm, mm,
And as soon as you start to have some external perspective on,
mm,
have you considered looking at things from this perspective? And if you are
mm,
thinking of transition planning,
yeah,
having somebody come in and go, well,
yeah,
this is some of the ways that other families have
yeah,
navigated this. These are some
yeah.
things that if you gain clarity on, it will give you much better idea of what you want that
Mm,
future to look like.
yeah,
There can often be reluctance from families to bring in external people because it requires a sense of vulnerability
sure.
and
Yeah.
to require trust and
Mm,
trusting
Mm,
somebody from outside the family with what's happening within
mm,
the family is a
yeah,
big step. And I think that that's
yeah,
part of
yeah.
our role as advisors is to try and
Mm,
make that as easy as possible. But it's not
mm,
easy. It's not kind of
mm,
coming on day one and we air all the skeletons
yeah,
in the
yeah,
closet. But
totally.
it's taking little steps towards, okay, let's have that
Mm,
conversation around what is the vision
mm,
for the business? What values do
yeah,
you hold sort of dear to yourself
yeah,
and want to see
yeah,
within behaviors? And
yeah.
then you build that trust over time and it becomes something that
Mm,
can be, again,
yeah,
really empowering for people to be able to kind of
yeah,
have a objective third party to be able to say,
yeah,
it's probably not going to be the best idea, or yeah, that's a great idea. Let's run with it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like that third party, someone who's there to support, to actually care, to help them be vulnerable, have those conversations. I think it's a huge thing for people to do, and for the family and for the business, it can be absolutely game changing.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. And I
it's,
think the one of the key elements of that is we're independent, right? So we
mm,
don't represent the views of any given individual.
yeah.
So even if somebody initiates the conversation and says, I think we should
Mm,
work with a family
mm,
business advisor, the family
hmm.
business advisor's role is to
Yeah.
work for the family system, not to go in and represent
Mm,
one
yeah.
generation's view over the other, or
Yeah.
can you come in and convince my brother that I'm right?
Yeah.
Is not the kind of discussion
Even
that,
though I hear that, like I will
yeah.
hear this, but
But I think it's really important that that independence is
yeah,
understood, but
yeah.
because again, it offers that there's the existence of polarities in family
Mm,
business, kind of an either or. Do we take
yeah,
money out or do we
yeah.
reinvest? And again, having some
Mm,
external perspective can be, well,
mm,
what if there's an opportunity to be able to do both?
yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah.
how might that look? And explore that
Mm,
with families as well. I think there's a
mm,
I would say this because it's our job, but there's
mm.
a real value to having those
Yeah,
external perspectives where there's no kind of bias and none of the kind of history and legacy and the family dynamics involved.
yes,
It doesn't mean we're always right, but it should mean that we can provide a
yeah,
different perspective.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I think being an advocate for the group and each and every person without biases is a major part of it. And I know that we know this, even though as we joke, clients will say all the time, like, tell this person they're wrong, Lily,
Hmm.
like, help me. So how do you navigate this, particularly that buy-in at the beginning when you might work with a new group? How how will you encourage that? Because it's also one of the same, it's a common pain point and hurdle
Hmm.
that, so I will have someone reach out to me, say as an individual, and say, Lily, I really want to work with you, but how do we get my X, Y, and Z to come too? So
Exactly.
what,
Yeah. It
how would you
it
navigate
can
this?
be very challenging. One of the things that I offer to families that I work with is an initial alignment workshop.
Mm,
So let's find out where you are.
yeah,
Let's have a review of the areas where you are strong and the areas where you might need some
yeah,
additional attention. So that in itself gives them a starting point that again is
mm,
broadly neutral in terms of my external input because they
yeah,
complete assessments that tell me where they are, not me coming in and making a judgment. And again, I
yeah,
think part of the reluctance for families is that an external advisor is going to come in and go, you've been doing this wrong.
yeah, I know,
And
I
again,
know,
that is not our role.
yeah.
The understanding and accepting that there are norms within families that might be different
Mm,
across families. So
mm,
conflict's a good example. Some
yeah,
families that I've worked with will
yeah,
have blazing rows in front of each other and really
yes,
shout, and then
yeah,
they'll go, right, we're going to have a cup of tea, and it's forgotten with.
yeah,
Where there's other families who will not talk a crossword to each other because they are frightened of what that
mm,
means.
mm,
Understanding and accepting that those norms exist within families is helpful
mm,
to us as advisors because we
yeah,
don't go in and try and go, well, you've got to have a blazing row in order to
yeah,
get over this, or don't ever say
yeah,
anything. Like, just if
totally,
you're feeling bad, don't say a thing because
totally,
what works for one family won't work for another. And I
yeah,
think, again, for families to feel that reassurance that you're
mm,
not coming in to try and judge and say what you've been
yeah,
doing. What do you mean you've been doing that? Oh my
mm,
goodness, no
yeah,
wonder it's so terrible.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
completely, in my view, that's
yep,
completely wrong.
yeah,
My
agreed,
my role I see as where is it you want to get to?
mm,
Where are you
mm,
now? And
mm,
how do we build that bridge?
Yeah.
And then I work with them to support them through what they need to do.
Mm,
But it's a bit like a personal trainer. If the
mm.
personal trainer does all the work and does all the press ups, they get fit.
Yeah, yeah.
You stay in the same condition. So the families have to do the work. And again, I think that helps to bring the trust in because
Mm,
they take
mm.
ownership of the
Yeah,
solutions.
yeah.
But starting from a common place of alignment,
Yeah.
making sure we're all on the same page. Do we agree that these are the areas we might need to focus on?
Mm,
Yes, they are. Great.
yeah,
Let's create a plan that allows us to move forwards
yeah,
towards that.
yeah.
The other tip I would suggest for families, and again, this came from the discussion with Jay Hughes,
Mm,
is really buy into
mm,
everyone else's success.
mm,
So if you're a sibling group and
mm.
you have ambitions,
Yeah.
share those ambitions and then buy into your sibling's success
Mm, mm.
and really want that for
Yeah.
them.
Mm,
And then understand, well, what are the tools that we
mm,
have at our disposal to
mm.
allow that to happen?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you have that buy-in,
yeah.
if you're plowing your own field
Mm,
and you're just like, I don't care what anyone else does, I want to do this, it's
yeah,
probably going to lead to a different outcome
absolutely. Yeah.
than being fully bought in on
Mm,
everyone's future. And that can be really difficult because you
yeah.
may not know what everyone's hopes, dreams, and aspirations are.
Mm,
Again, I'd encourage
mm.
you to
Yeah,
share those and be curious about that and
yeah.
not feel as though it's
Mm,
taboo to be able to go, I just want to be really happy and
mm,
successful. And this
mm.
is how I define success and this is how I define
Yeah,
fulfillment and happiness. And everyone go,
yeah,
well, that's amazing. You don't need to be involved in the
yeah,
business to do that. If your passion isn't widgets and you want to go over here and do this,
yeah.
let's do that. I support you in the best way possible.
Oh, yeah.
But without those discussions, it just
Mm,
becomes
mm.
harder. It
Yeah,
becomes very complicated. So I think
yeah,
that's an important aspect as well.
yeah, yeah. But I love what you say because I feel like it's on the foundation that nobody's particularly wrong, there's no winner or loser. We're all on the same team and
Hmm.
actually there to be collaborative. And I feel like if my client walked away saying with the impression that I'd said that something was wrong, I feel like I've not done my job properly because
Hmm.
it would just be the wrong impression.
Yep.
Like, absolutely. Um,
And I think getting families to be able to, so there's tools and ways that you can help families to see areas where they might want to strengthen.
mm,
So
yeah.
conflict resolution might be again something
Mm,
we don't
mhm,
handle conflict particularly well. Can you support
yeah.
us in navigating
Yes.
conflict?
Yeah.
That's when you can then go into the discussions and go, well, what
Mm,
does work now? What
mm,
doesn't work now? What is it you want to do more of? What is it you want to
yeah.
do less of? And then you can start to codify some of that around, again,
Mm,
their processes and
right.
conflict resolution processes and what have you. That again,
Mm,
without kind of going down into the weeds of it,
mm,
but getting that recognition of we don't think we're doing this as well as we can be. Can
good.
you help us? Is right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where it's
Yeah.
not for me to say you're not doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that has to come from you as a willingness to change, because
Mm,
otherwise, I'm suggesting things.
yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
you can tell I've speaking from experience with personal trainers because I've had some
Mm,
and I'm still in a terrible shape. So,
oh.
in terms of that kind of, come on, tell me
Mm,
what I need to do, and
mm,
then it's hard work.
yeah.
When you go to the gym, it's hard work. And then
Yeah.
when you get
Yeah.
used to it and you do it over and over and over again, that's where you get all the results. It becomes
Mm,
normalized. And the same is with this type of
mm,
process with a family is it can be
mm,
heavy lifting to start off with.
yeah.
It can be painful. You can feel like giving up. You can go, why did we bother doing this in the
Yeah.
first place?
Yeah.
But as it becomes more and more embedded, you're setting
Mm,
yourself up for such a healthier
clean. Yeah.
future lifestyle because it's the
Yeah.
hard work is worth it.
Yeah.
But it's
Absolutely.
sometimes difficult to see that, and this is
Yeah.
why I don't go to the gym enough.
Okay, sure, sure.
Yeah.
I think it is difficult for people to see because they do put their trust in folks like you and I.
Mm,
And I think it's really corny to say it's a big transformation,
mhm.
but I think it actually is quite apt. Like people's lives feel very changed, and
Yeah,
I think there's enormous power in having those conversations. And I mean,
yeah,
a
agree.
conversation's a conversation, but the outcome of then what that means now, like,
Mhm.
poof.
Yeah. And the
Yes.
important aspect there is the family are able to take ownership of the outcome
Mm,
because
mm,
it's their outcome.
yeah,
It's not somebody coming and going, well, you must do
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
It's much more about what's going to work best.
Yeah.
Let's agree on that. Let's create a process around agreeing how we're going to
Yeah.
do things.
Yeah.
And then you get the buy-in and the ownership of it, and it becomes yours, and it's something that you can then nurture and carry on.
Mm.
I sometimes refer to myself a bit like Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Is you kind
I,
of come in,
I,
I don't float in on an umbrella, but I come
sure.
into families and I help them
Yeah.
until the wind changes. And then
Yeah.
at that point, created
Mm.
the habits that allow them to do what they want to do without the need for that external support. And
Yeah.
yeah, other than the umbrella and the bottomless handbag,
Sure.
we're a little bit like Mary Poppins.
We are. We are. I've used this for myself too because I think it is very apt. Um, absolutely, absolutely. Russ, I really enjoyed speaking. I think you and
Likewise.
I could talk for ages, and we probably will now that we stopped
Yes.
recording. But thank you for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed this.
Thank
Um,
you for having me. It's been great fun.
thank you.